everybody, this is Heather Sides. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Spokane, Washington, and once a month I bring you a video with alternate ideas for your paper pumpkin kit, and today happens to be that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the kit that came this month, the cards that the kit was designed to make, and then I'm going to show you 3 fun ideas of something else you can do. So let me get my computer going to make sure that I can see all your comments as we go along. Let's see here. Don't want to totally cut off my head today. Let's see. Okay, it looks like I'm on. It looks like I can see everything, so we are good to go. Let's see, given just a couple minutes for people to get on board here and find me now that everything's hooked up. Let's see if I have anything exciting to share. Last night, of course, was New Year's Eve, and my husband and I are very, very exciting people. We went to bed at about 10 o'clock. So we basically said Happy New Year this morning. Yeah, so that's, that's how exciting we are. I'm trying to think. I really don't think anything exciting has happened since last Wednesday when I did my weekly live, which, by the way, if you are joining me for the first time tonight, welcome. I do videos like this every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. But they aren't paper pumpkin. They're just different ideas for, sometimes there's a theme to them, sometimes there's not. It's just some additional ideas for you to have some fun with. And I'd love for you to join us at any time. If you subscribe to my channel on YouTube or here on Facebook, you can follow me. Then you'll get notifications when I am going to go live as a reminder for those Wednesday night lives, and I'd love for you to join us. So let's go ahead and get started. Have just a couple housekeeping things to tell you about, and then we're going to jump right into stamping with our paper pumpkin kit. How's that sound? All right, so let me switch the camera around. Already my phone is telling me that it's trying to get a connection, so I don't know, is it cutting out on you, Talina? It is a happy Saturday, as a matter of fact. I have been very productive today, as you know, because we've had little bits of conversation. But I have had a productive day, and that always feels really, really good. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So a couple of things that I want to bring up for housekeeping issues. Not issues, but details. Next month's paper pumpkin kit, Kisses and Hugs. It looks like it's going to be a really pretty set, actually. It comes with little trifold heart-shaped cards. You can also order an add-on of these little gift boxes. So it would make some nice little Valentines for the people that you want to share Valentine's Day with. So if you are interested in signing up for that, you have until January 10th to do so. It does cut off at midnight on the 10th. So if that interests you, you definitely want to get your subscription set up. You can sign up for 1, 3, 6, or 12 months. Hey Tina, how are you tonight? Anyway, just a reminder about next month's paper pumpkin kit. I'm really excited to get it and play with it and see what kind of fun things I can do. And then also a reminder that on Tuesday, January 4th, our new January through June mini catalog comes out, and there are a lot of really neat, really pretty, really fun stamp sets and dies and products in here. If you don't have a demonstrator that you already work with and you would like a copy of this catalog, send me a private message. Let me know. Give me your address if I don't already have it, and I would be happy to send one out to you. You can also contact me through my website, heathersides.stampinup.net. If you do place an order to sign up for the paper pumpkin, like I mentioned, or to order any of the supplies that I use tonight, please use this host code if your order is under $150. That helps me to earn free things that I can turn around and give away as freebies to my customers and things like that. But if your order is over $150, do not use the host code, because you will have some free stuff coming to you, and I want to make sure that you do receive it. So that's the little bit of housekeeping that I've got for you. Let me show you what we got with this month's kit. Now, usually I open this up and I show you everything that's inside, but quite honestly, there's not a whole lot left this month, because I really used up a lot of it in the cards that I've already made. So I'll kind of try to show you what I can. Of course, it comes with a stamp set. It always comes with a stamp set. And this one has lots of puns, pun type sentiments. So like, thanks a bunch, and there's bananas, and let's see, a toast to your success, and there's toast, and I loaf you to go with the toast, or have an excellent day, and there's eggs. So, you know, and then of course there's a random party hat, because lots of our sets for some reason have random party hats in it, and that just cracks me up. But the best part is these little glasses that you can put on the banana. Well, you can put it on any of them, but I like them best on the banana, or the mustache. The mustache and glasses on the banana are by far my favorite thing about this whole set. But ironically, I'm not making any cards like that tonight. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute. But anyway, these are the stamps that came with the kit this month. And the ink spot that came with it every month. If you're new to Paper Pumpkin, every month your kit comes with all of the supplies that you need to make 3 cards that Stampin' Up! Has designed for you, and comes with everything but scissors. So you do need a pair of scissors. It comes with a set of stamps that are exclusive to this Paper Pumpkin, and then you also get an ink spot, which is about a 1 inch by 1 inch miniature ink pad in a particular color that goes with the whole set. And they don't what's the word I'm looking for? Reuse those colors in subsequent Paper Pumpkins for at least 12 months. So if you're signed up for 12 months, you can know that you're going to get 12 different ink colors during that time. So anyway, your kit comes with this great sheet of colored instructions, so you know how to make the cards that Stampin' Up! Has designed for you. And then on the back, it also shows you all the different pieces that came with it. This is probably a better way to show you all the pieces, since I've used so many. But you can kind of see them here, and I'll go through a few of what's left. But they also give you a few additional ideas on this side of things you can do with the kit. And then I am going to give you 3 more ideas in this video tonight. So I hope that you guys are looking forward to this as much as I was looking forward to getting my kit and playing with it, because I did have a lot of fun with it. So it comes with 3 card bases, which I don't have any left over to show you, but you'll see them as we work through them tonight. Came with 2 sheets of these dies where you got some toast, some cherries, an egg, and a banana. And you can do these as dies, or there's also stamps for all of those things that I was showing you earlier, so you can stamp those items directly as well. There are dies that this one is a big square piece with a punch out in the middle. I don't have one to show you at this time because it's in one of the kits for what we're making tonight, so you'll get a chance to see that a little bit better. But it also has all these little speech bubbles that you can type, or not type, but you can stamp your sentiment in. Let's see the other dies. Came with this sheet of dies, these little banners, or, you know, they can just be decorative pieces if you want. But we've got these ones in the pool party. These ones that are just the stripe, they're a little bit longer, but just as wide as these pool party ones. And then you've got these, they're kind of a, I don't know, can you, yeah, you can see the check on there. There's a little bit of a checkered pattern, very subtle to this brown piece right here, tan piece. Crumb cake, I should say, I guess. Another sheet of the speech bubbles. Got a couple sheets of those. We've got this little sheet that has 3 of these little strips with the rainbow stripe that matches all the colors that are in the set. Got a couple sheets of vellum, 2 sizes of circles and a little strip like that. Another sheet of it. This little strip was kind of fun. I used most of it already, but we're going to use some of it tonight. Hello, and then these little borders, little, what do you want to say, like scalloped borders. A third sheet of the speech bubbles and the little square with the cutout. And then these adorable little embellishments. Let me show you. You've got these little dots. Make sure I'm under the camera. Got these little dots. You've got them in the pool party, and I'm going to guess this is Daffodil Delight. But then these little heart-shaped ones too. Tiny ones and a little bit bigger ones that are fun to play with. Now, one of the things that I was most looking forward to in this kit was all of the puns, which, I mean, that was the point of the kit, right? But I absolutely adore really bad puns. My husband hates it. It drives him crazy. And so, of course, I bring them to him, all of my puns, just because I know it drives him crazy. Because why wouldn't I? But tonight, the cards I'm going to make for you aren't actually going to really use the puns a whole lot. Let me show you the cards that came in the kit, or came with the instructions are to make these cards. So you just can see what the basic ones are that Stampin' Up! Designed for us. Got this one that I think is really cute, and it says, "I'm sorry, that's the pits," and has these little cherries with little sad faces. I think that's pretty cute. This is the piece I was talking about, that's the square with the little punch out in the center. Tonight we're going to use both the square and the punch out. The next card is this one with the little toast and the egg, and "I loaf you, let's grow mold together, and you tell the best yolks." I think "let's grow mold together" is the funniest one to me of all of them. Just because I just think that's funny. Okay, and then there's this one, which I think is really kind of pretty, actually. And it says, "Peel better soon," for your friend who might be sick or healing or, you know, whatever. And there's the banana with the glasses. Can you even? I mean, I just love him. He's so darn cute. And it uses those little yellow embellishments that I was showing you that I had in the kit. So those are the cards that Stampin' Up! Designed for you to make with your kit. Tonight, however, I'm going to show you some additional ones. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see here. I want to make sure I've got all of the pieces. So for this first card, we're going to use, of course, because I always use them, my layering circles. And I'm going to show you how I used them. Oh, and by the way, the kit also comes with envelopes, and I think I used all 3 in this, so I'll make sure to show them to you. But I thought this is cute with the polka dots that do go all the way down, if that's something that matters to you, because sometimes people will cut off the folded seams here and then have the decorative paper to do something fun with. So you can certainly do that. What I did is I took the little piece that punches out of, let me show you again. The little piece that punched out of this square, I took this, and then I took one of my circle dies and I cut it out so that it didn't have all the little scallops around the edge, that it was just round. And then I used a slightly bigger scalloped edge circle and pool party paper to make that little scalloped background on there. So that is how I used that little punch out piece that I talked about. So let's go ahead and get started on this card. First, you have your card base. This is one of 3 designs that came in the kit. It's white on the inside. So if you don't like plain white on the inside, you can stamp there. You can add some designer series paper. There's a lot you can do to decorate up that inside so that it's not quite as plain if you don't like that. So I folded it, gave it a good crease, gonna set it aside. Most of you who follow me regularly know that I like to decorate my envelopes and such. I didn't do that tonight with these. no particular reason. I think it was just because I did like the inside decoration, and but I still may go back later and maybe put cherries on the front or something to decorate. So you can still decorate your envelopes. Decorate your envelopes like you normally would, or like I normally do. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we have one of those square pieces that I was talking about with the little punch out. And it's just a little die cut. It punches right out. I'll show you how. Just like that. Easy peasy. I already did the die cutting though for the one. This is just for a sample to show you, where I then took a circle. Let me show you. No, I don't quite remember what size I used. This looks like it's about right. I just took my circle and I put it on here like this, so because that was the biggest circle I could get out of this piece, and then just ran it through my die cut machine so that I came out with, I shall show you. The round one instead of the scalloped one. So that's what I did there. Let me put this aside. Okay, then of course, like I said, I did take one of the scalloped edge circles and made this piece. So these two pieces are going to go together. I've got a little strip of So Saffron. I always want to call it Barely Banana because it's a color we had about 20 years ago, and very similar shade, and so I always want to call this Barely Banana, but it is So Saffron. Here's one of the little die cuts of the word hello that I was showing you kind of the negative space of it earlier with the kit. Oh, and the kit also came with a little roll of linen thread or baker's twine, and so I have a little strip of that. I also have a little strip of Poppy Parade, and then one of the die cuts of the cherries, and we can pop that little center out. So there you have it. Those are the pieces we're going to work with here. Let me put my circle dies away. And I think I used it in one or more of the other cards too. So we'll talk about that if that comes up again. So let's go ahead and get started on our card. Oh, and I'm also using tonight the wonderful gems. I'm going to use these little red ones, little sparklies. So first we're going to go ahead and adhere this piece to our pool party circle. It's got such a very, very narrow margin. You've got to be careful when you lay it down to make sure you've got the little scallops going all the way around and that you don't cover them up. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the cherry and we're going to take some early espresso ink. Let's see here. Let me get the stamp I want. This is the cherry stamps. Now, when we're working with these photopolymer stamps, remember that they don't have the same cushion built into them that your red rubber stamps do. So they do stamp a lot better if you stamp on some sort of a cushion, and our little piercing mat is perfect for that. I want to say it's like $5 or $6, so it's not very expensive, and it really does help your stamping when it comes to these photopolymer stamps. Anyway, so I'm going to take the cherry. I'm going to line up my stamp. The nice thing about these is you can see exactly where you're stamping, so I'm going to line it up. What this is going to do is it's going to give me an outline. There we go. So it looks like I stamped that whole thing and colored it in. Okay. Now, I'm going to put this ink pad away because you know what I do when I leave ink pads out. I end up wearing the ink. Now I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals on here. By the way, this kit does come with some dimensionals. Like I said, it comes with everything you need but scissors. So when you need adhesives, it comes with your adhesives. They do a really good job of that. The one thing it doesn't come with is when they provide the dimensionals, they only provide these full-size ones, and every now and then I like to use the little mini ones. So it's nice to have some of those on hand, and you can purchase those from my online store at heathersides.stampinup.net. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel these backs off. Whoop. And I'm going to stick it onto my circle here. Oop. I want to make sure this is straight. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my baker's twine and I'm going to make a little ribbon. Not a ribbon, a bow. Some people don't like to tie bows, but I'm telling you, it really is one of those practice makes perfect kind of things, because I used to be terrible about it, but I love bows, so I'm constantly doing them, and I've gotten to where I can do them pretty quickly now. And again, it's just from practice, from doing it a lot. Okay, scissors. Once upon a time, I had a pair of scissors. There they are. Okay. I'm probably going to need to trim this a little more once I get it on there, but this at least gets some of that excess out of the way. The kit also comes with some mini glue dots. They're a little different than what you would find when you buy mini glue dots on my website. They come on a roll on my website, but when they come in a paper pumpkin kit, they come in a sheet like this. So they're the same thing. They still work really well. They're tad smaller. So what I don't use when I'm doing my alternate cards and things like that, I like to save them and use them for when I do want a smaller mini glue dot. So anyway, so I'm just going to put this one right here, right at the wishbone, basically. You know what I mean? Like it's a turkey wishbone, you know? Didn't anybody here used to do that, where you fight with your siblings over who gets to pull it? And the person who gets the long side of it, when you break it, when you pull it apart, they're supposed to have good luck. Only I didn't have siblings, so I just, had to fight with myself. How sad is that, you guys? Talina, I would not have thought of doing the outline either, but it is one of the instructions in the kit, so that's where I got the idea. I can't even take credit for that one. Okay, so now I'm putting my little bow over the glue dot. And I think I do want to trim this a little bit. Let's see here. I want these to be about the same length. The easiest way to do that is just to pull them together. Be gentle that you don't pull them right off pull the bow right back off of the picture where you glued it. But there we go. So we have that part done now. Let's start piecing this baby together. So what I did is I took I almost called it Barely Banana again. The So Saffron piece, and I am using my it's not tailored tags. It's a, hang on, let's see what it's called. I want to give you the name of this because it is a punch I use a lot, so you might be interested in it, and you can buy it on my website. Let's see here. Find the right page for you. Okay, it's right here on page 149 of the catalog, and it's the Banners Pick-a-Punch. It does banners where the point goes out and banners where the point goes in, and it does 3 different sizes, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch wide, and 1 inch wide. But there are 3 different ones that do the same type of thing, just different edges. But this is the one I use a lot, and it's $23. By the way, on Tuesday, we begin our next round of Celebration. For every $50 that you spend, you get to pick a free gift out of our Celebration catalog, which will also be showing up on my website on that day, on Tuesday. So you can see the different things that you can get for free. There's stamp sets, there's paper packs, there's a lot of different things. So, if you bought one of these punches, you're halfway there already. Okay, so you just feed it in. And let's see here. Make sure it's all the way, it's not even all the way in. There we go. And punch. And now it's created that little banner end for us. So let's do the other end as well. There we go. So now we have it punched at both ends. And let's go ahead and just lay it down on our card this way. So I'm going to put it right about here. There's no particular measurement that I'm using. I just know I want it about that far from the bottom. Now, one thing that's kind of nice about this particular card front is it does have this little plaid pattern on the front, and you can use that to line up this piece to make sure that it's straight. And I was doing it too far away from me because usually I have to have my face right in there in the middle of whatever I'm doing. So let's see here. Okay. There we go. Okay, then the next thing I did is I took this little red piece and I'm going to do the punch again. So it fits right here in the middle section. Now I found sometimes when my measurement just isn't quite right, I have to look at the bottom and make sure it's, you know, lined up and centered, but it looks like I got it okay because it's fitting in there now. There we go. So we have that little banner done. We're going to take this piece and we're going to go ahead and, let's see. I think the best way is to put the hello on first. And you can use the little mini glue dots that came in your kit, or just a little bit of our liquid adhesive works well as also. Remember, dot dot, not a lot. This liquid glue goes a long way, and if you get your paper too wet with glue, it will warp the paper. So I probably put a little too much on there. I'm going to rub some of that off. So be careful how much you put on with the liquid glue. Okay, where do I want to put this now? Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to line it up here kind of on the left side toward the end. Just like that. Ah! Stuck to my finger. Okay. Another nice thing about using the liquid glue is before it sets too much, you can still wiggle it around. So if you don't get it as straight as you want it or get the angle you want, you can still kind of push it around with your finger. Okay, I think that looks good. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take the piece with the cherries and I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive right across the middle. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on this red piece. Now, I want to line this up so that my circle is just slightly overlapping the O on the hello. Not overlapping the O, but the tail on the O. Okay, so we've got that. Now, we're going to go ahead and stick it down here. Okay, and then just to give it a little something extra, we've got the wonderful gems that I pointed out earlier. Let's see, we'll put one big one right there, and then we'll put on a couple small ones. There. Now, did I do something on the inside? I did. Okay, so now for the inside of the card, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little cherries in there again. So again, I'm going to use my early espresso ink just because I want it to match what was done on the front. And let's see. Trying to decide what's the best angle to have that. Guess it really doesn't matter a whole lot. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my Granny Apple Green and my Real Red. Now I could use my Stampin' blends to color these in, and if you want to do that, you certainly could do it that way. The reason I chose not to is because what I'm going to do here in a moment provides a little bit more of a lighter, more watercolor kind of look, and that's how the cherries look on the die cut. So I wanted it to a little more closely resemble that. So first, let's make sure that this one's clean. Okay, so what I do when I am coloring this way I'm about to show you is I take just one of my little blocks and I ink it up, and I'm going to be doing so little on here, I probably didn't even need to put ink on the whole block. I could have gotten away with just a little tip of it because we're just going to do this small part. And I like to try to do the outsides first because that's where my darker shading is going to be. And as this dries, it will soak into the paper a little bit more and you'll be able to see that shading a little bit better. Now, hang on here. I like to keep diaper wipes on hand because now I can just wipe this block off right there like that. And now I can use it for the red to do the cherries. So I'm going to ink up the red. And I'm just taking, these are our blender pens. When you buy them, you get a set of 3 of them. I want to say they're $12. They might be $9. You get 3 of them and they have double ends. Both tips are the same. So it's like getting 6 different markers. But you see, I just picked up that ink off my block and now I'm just coloring in like this. Now I'm trying to pull in the color from the outer edge there. And so you see me scribbling on my scratch paper here. That's because I just want to get the darker bulk part of the ink off first when I do that, so that I'm not just adding more dark. So here I'm taking the dark around the edge. And you can see as I go, it gets lighter and lighter, which I kind of like because then it kind of creates that illusion of light coming from one side because it's lighter on one side than it is on the other. And I'm just coloring it in. I'll go over it one more time to try to pull that color in. A little tip about when you're doing circular kind of things, or even really any shape. You want, if you make the center be a lot lighter, then it does give the image of the shading where it goes from darker to a lot lighter. So a lot of times I will have very little color on the inside just to give that illusion of the light. But you can see as it soaks in, it really does lighten up quite a bit. Okay, so now to clean off my pen, all I have to do is I just scribble on my scrap paper with it, and you can see eventually it starts it's clear again, and that's all you have to do to clean it. So clean off my stamp, or my block. Okay, let's close these ink pads and take a look at our finished product. So here is our card. Something is sticking on the back. But here's our card with our envelope, and there you go. So there's one alternate idea for you with the paper pumpkin kit. Okay. Not everybody is as appreciative of a good pun as I am. So all 3 of the cards I'm making for you tonight really kind of steer away from the puns as far as the humorous side of that. Eric asked if you could use the Stampin' blends instead. You absolutely could use the Stampin' blends instead. The main reason I did not is because I wanted it to have a little bit lighter, more of a watercolor look so that it matched the cherries on the die cut. So that's why. But you absolutely could use your Stampin' Blends. In fact, we're going to use Stampin' Blends on the next card. Okay, so this next card, let me actually put these little gems away. Start with a semi-clean space. Now this one does use one of the puns, but you know, it's not as good as like Let's Grow Mold Together. Okay, so here's this one, this envelope. It's the crumb cake on the outside, and then the inside is this kind of fun splattery pattern. And we've got a bunch of bananas, and it says thanks a bunch. And then on the inside I have a little banana. So let's go ahead and get started on this one. Okay, so this is what the card front actually looks like. We're going to be covering this up. If you make the card that the instructions show you how to make, you'll actually still see this in that card. But in the one we're doing, we're going to cover up that detail. So I have an extra envelope. I have a piece of, this was 4 inches by, I'm sorry, it was 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then and this is the Granny Apple Green. And then I ran it through the Stampin', or the embossing folder, Tasteful Textile. Put this down where you can see it actually. And you can actually see pretty well on the screen the pattern that it gives you on the paper. I really like the embossing folders for that reason. It gives you a subtle pattern. Hey Robin, it's good to see you. The embossing folders give you a nice subtle pattern to give you some texture in the background without going overboard with more pattern or more color that might detract from your primary focus. Then I have, let's see here. I have some of the So Saffron, and this was 2 3/4, yeah, 2 3/4 by 4, and then a white piece, it's 2 1/2 by 3 3/4, and they're just going to layer like this onto the green piece. I have a little piece of white scrap paper, another little piece of the twine, actually 2 pieces of the twine, because we're going to make a double bow with this one. And I'm already pulling it apart. In fact, if it's going to be difficult, I'm going to tie my bow right now and just get that out of the way. Okay, I'm going to make these just a little bit tighter. Got a double bow. All right. Cut my tails the same length. And then we'll just set it aside until we're ready to use it. Then I have a couple of little strips here. I have a little white, this is a 1/2 yeah, this is 3/8 of an inch wide, or yeah, wide, and then about 3 inches long, I think is what I did. We're going to trim off the excess because I want it to match this little border piece that we're going to put on here. So it is a little bit longer than what we need, but I did that on purpose. And then of course we also need those little embellishments that came with the kit. Let me get them. I forgot to get them out. There they are. We're going to use some of these little yellow guys right there. And, oh, we're missing another piece. We are also going to use this last crumb cake piece. Right there. These pieces that came in this kit, I was really impressed because I knew the set itself was going to be very specific and it was going to have appeal to people, no pun intended. It was going to have appeal to people or it wasn't. I don't think there's any middle ground here. But all the extra die cuts and things like that, there was a lot that you could do that doesn't have to be the silly punny stuff. So I really did appreciate that about this kit. Okay, I see why stuff is sticking. There we go. Got that little piece of adhesive off. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adhere these together. Just get them done and out of the way. Kind of try to make sure your margins are roughly the same around all four sides. And then it's going to go on here. And I made mine go up just a little bit. So it's not perfectly centered vertically. It's a little bit wider at the bottom. You can center it if you choose, if that's your preference. It does seem that with the paper that's embossed as this is, the regular seal doesn't always hold things quite as well. So one thing I've started doing, because I saw other demonstrators suggest it, is using the liquid glue because it kind of seeps into the crevices a little bit better. So you get a little better adhesion when you put pieces together like this. So again, you don't need a whole lot of it. You don't want your paper to warp. But it does seem to hold just a little bit better. Another thing that works well is the tear-in tape, and I'm going to use the tear-in tape actually when I stick it onto the card base, which I could probably do now. So let's do that. Probably could get away with doing smaller strips than what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing them this big. I really don't. Because, like I said, you could probably do much smaller pieces. But okay. Now take my bone folder and I just press this down. It gets the adhesive kind of locked in there a little bit better. Then I'm going to take my take your pick tool to lift off the release tape. This take your pick tool is like man's best friend. Well, Stamper's best friend anyway. I use it for so many different things. If you don't have one, I really recommend getting one. They're $10 or $12, I think 10, and worth every penny. I use mine with every single card that I make. I'm seeing that this is lifting on this corner just a little bit. I just don't think I got any glue down there. So add a little bit on. Hold it for just a second while it... Yeah, see, I don't think it got it on any of my corners, so I may have to put a little bit more on my corners there. Talina, I got all the way through... up to date, I should say, with season 2 on Modern Love. And you're right, I liked season 1 a lot better, but season 2 isn't bad. Robin, have you ever watched that show? It's on Prime. It's called Modern Love. Talina recommended it to me, and it really is pretty good. It's every episode of it is a different love story about a different kind of love. Like, there's a few that are about platonic love, and they're not all just like romantic love. So it's kind of cool. And the episodes are like half an hour long, so it's easy to binge. Okay, so got this piece on there. Ta-da! Okay, now what I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and I'm going to do my bananas first because I want to make sure I get them centered where they need to be. not centered, but get them laid down where I want them. So I'm going to take my white, basic white cardstock, my banana. Where'd my banana go? Oh, it was stuck to my ink pads. Okay, so now I have my banana. And again, I'm going to use the Early Espresso just because it does coordinate very well with the colors of the cardstock and the pre-done colors of the kit. So I'm going to make, I only have one banana, but I want a bunch of 3. So I'm going to stamp them kind of like this. And I'm just going to line them up. And I'm telling you now, it's going to look kind of ugly at first where all the little stems are. That's okay, because we're going to cover it up anyway when we put the twine on it. I couldn't think of the word. You should check it out, Robin, if you like just kind of, it's not super deep, but it's not really sitcom-y either. They're like little tiny rom-coms, sort of. Well, I shouldn't even say rom-coms because some of them take a pretty serious tone. But you should check it out because it really is a good show. And it's on Prime. Okay, so now to color in my bananas, I'm going to use my Stampin' Blend markers, and I'm also going to do just a little bit of the technique I used before where I used my Stampin' Blend. And the main reason I did that is because I wanted the brown on here to be very subtle, and I knew my Stampin' Blend markers, you know, they're just so vibrant, and I didn't want my brown to really stand out on this. So, okay, so pull up a little bit of brown, and I actually am getting a little bit off of the pen first. Okay, there's one. Now we'll do their little, I don't know what this is on the end of the banana. Okay, so that's all we need with the brown. I'm going to scribble and get that extra color off of it, off the pen. Get my handy dandy diaper wipe, clean off my block. And now we're going to go to town with the Stampin' Blend markers. I've got dark Daffodil Delight and light Daffodil Delight. You can start with either the light or the dark. You know, it seems like everybody's got their preference of the way they like to do it. I like to start with the dark on the outer edge, but you know, it's what works for you. Take advantage of the little lines that Stampin' Up! Gives us in the stamps themselves, or in the images, to know that would be a darker spot. That's where there would be a shadow. And you can see I'm not being really precise here because it's going to get blended in anyway. So if it's not, you know, exactly on the line that I was shading, that's not a huge deal. Now I'm just going around the outer edge. Also, if after I've done my blending, if I find that maybe I blended the darker part a little too much, I can go back in and add more. But the thing is, if you do it while it's still really wet, it doesn't really layer the color well. It just kind of makes it darker and it doesn't really blend it. So I recommend, that's why I recommend do your dark, then do your light, and then if you feel like it still needs a little more dark, go back and add some then, because it'll have had a chance to kind of soak into the paper. Okay, now we're going to take the light Daffodil Delight, and first I'm just coloring this in, and you can see it looks very drastic there, the darker edge. So now once I've colored it in, I'm going to now try to bring this dark toward the center. And sometimes I'll just do it like this, like what you're seeing me do now. And sometimes I'll do little circles. The circles do seem to have a little bit better, do a little bit better job of getting the darker to blend into the light. Okay, and once this dries, like right now, it's blended so much that it almost looks like one color. And you're like, okay, you have no shading there because you blended out the darker. As it soaks into the paper, you are going to see a little bit more of the dark show up. But again, if you don't see that, that's when you could add more. Now I heard somewhere that if you can hear your pens squeaking like mine are, then you are pressing too hard. I, for one, find the squeaking very satisfying. I don't know why. I just do. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to let that sit for just a little bit while I'm going to fussy cut it. And these actually, I thought it would be kind of a pain to fussy cut these, but it actually was pretty easy. There's not a lot of twists and turns. Yeah, they're curvy, but nothing really tough to do. If you find that fussy cutting is difficult for you to do, I recommend, or what I have heard, and then I've been trying to do it, and it really does make a difference. Don't move your scissors around like this. Move the paper. So really all you're doing to move your scissors is moving the blades up and down, and that does help you to get a little bit smoother cut, especially on curves and things like that. Yes, Talina, I have been watching Ghosts too. My mom recommended it to me, and I do think it's pretty funny. I like the guy with no pants. He makes me laugh. I like him, and I like I can't think of her name, the one that's like from colonial times or whatever. Okay, let's see here. See, you can see this is coming along. I mean, it's always slow, especially watching someone else fussy cut. But you can see it's coming along really pretty quickly, all things considered. Okay. Okay, there we go. So there's our bananas. And like I said, I know it's kind of messy up there where what do you call that? The stalk of the banana? The banana plug? I don't know. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put, just like I did on the last card, I'm going to lay down a glue dot and then set my bow on top of it. So I just put it right here in the center. Peel off this little backing. There. This little one is kind of going awry, but there we go. So now we have our bunch of bananas. So I figure I want it right about here. Looks like the angle this is going to be, I'm going to want my bow to be turned a little differently. There. That's better, I think. Okay, so now we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of them. You know, I like to use a lot of dimensionals. So I do it like that, and then I put some smaller ones on the ends. One there. You know, it's funny. I find that these paper pumpkin cards take me longer to come up with ideas, but once I come up with the idea, the cards themselves are much quicker because everything's already done for me. Okay, so now I'm going to peel the backs off. I have a little garbage can to the side of my desk, which is why I keep going off screen when I peel the backs off. Okay, so let's put the banana guys right there. And you know, if you wanted to, you could decorate the bananas with the smiley faces or whatever. But again, I was just trying to avoid doing that, just to show some versatility with the set. So now I've got this piece, the crumb cake, and I'm going to take my white strip and I'm going to stamp the message. Again, I'm going to use the Early Espresso. And first I'm going to stamp it right in the middle. Thanks a bunch. And then on either side of it, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it stamped off. Because I want that one in the middle to really stand out. There. It's a little further apart than what I wanted, but that's okay. Okay, close up the ink pad. Now, here I want to go ahead and adhere this little strip to my tag. Now I wish this was a sticker because I think that would be a lot easier. It's not, so you know, we'll make do. What I did for this, let me get my silicone mat because I don't want the adhesive to end up sticking to my work surface or the paper around my piercing mat. Here we go. And I'm going to stick some of the little mini glue dots on here. I did quite a few just because I wanted to make sure that it was stuck down really well. But to be honest, a few is probably sufficient. Okay, so now I'm going to peel these guys off. And you can see that a little bit of the glue dot is sticking up beyond that border, and that's what I wanted. Come back. Oh no. Oh no. It is a little tricky getting the backs off this one just because the piece is so tiny. And it keeps sticking to me. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take my message. I'm going to put it face down. I'm going to take this piece, do it face down, but I want those little pieces of the glue dots that are sticking up to overlap onto my piece that has the sentiment on it. And you may have to play with it a little bit because like I didn't want the papers to overlap one another. I wanted them to be right up, butting up. You want to hear this in English now? The stem end, that's what it's called. Thank you, Talina. The stem. My gosh. You know, once you get it in your head that it's something else, you can't think of the right words. Okay. So now you can see that my paper is a little bit longer than that little edge piece. So all I'm going to do is take this and trim it And I'm going to stick it onto my crumb cake piece. Oops. Okay. And I'm just going to center it there. Now I'm going to use a little foam strip to adhere it to my card. I think this might work nicely. Between the peel the backs off. What? I don't think I got the back off of, there we go. I did not take the back off the end of the banana here. There, now it's stuck down. Okay, so now we can stick this on here. And it is just about the right length to fit from one side of the green to the other, so I just put it right there. And I centered it between my bananas and the bottom. Now one last little bit of detail. We're going to take some of these little yellow embellishments. Oh, I just flicked it at myself. That's pretty funny. Okay. And I'm just going to put two over here. I'm making a triangle pattern to kind of how you want to draw the eye. And I want to draw the eye to my message, the thanks a bunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my triangle. I'm going to try to make my triangle like this. So my triangle goes this way, your eye goes across that thanks a bunch. So let's do the inside real quick. I'll stamp another banana. Clean off the stamp. Just got a little bit of brown so that I can do the stem and the little bottom part. Scribble till it goes clear. Okay, now just like we did on the bananas on the front, I'm going to start with my darker color. And now I'm just going to go around the edges. I should make sure that I'm doing this where you can see it. I think it's funny when you first start coloring this, it looks a little bit brown. And when I first started doing that, I was like, yuck, no one wants a brown banana. But as it soaks in to the paper a little bit and you blend it with the lighter one, it does take on a little bit lighter shade so you don't have a brown banana. Though I suppose you could make brown spots on it if you wanted. I don't know why you'd want to, but you do have that option. It's your banana. Okay. See how much difference there is between the ones on the front and that one that I just colored. That gives you a great idea of, well, and even the sample one I made before, you can really see how it lightens up a lot as it dries and soaks into the paper. So there we go, card number 2. Thanks a bunch. Got that one done. And then finally, this is the one that I'm the most excited about because I'm one of those people that I see a stamp and it is what it is. So I really admire people who see the stamp and they see something else completely, and they're able to turn it into a different image. Well, that's what I did with this next card. So I'm excited about it because I'm normally not that great at doing that. Okay, so this next card is another shaker card. I've made those before. See? And are you ready for this? I'm so tickled with myself, you guys. The flowers are eggs, and the leaves on the flower are bananas. I'm so pleased with myself. I did it on the inside too. That little leaf looks a little wonky, but you know, whatever. But yes, eggs and bananas make a flower. So this is the third envelope where it's the, this looks more like a curry to me, but I think it's the Daffodil Delight. And then it's got the inside stripe like one of those dies that was in the kit. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the card front that we're going to use. And it's just got this kind of watercolor blob in there that we're kind of leaving, but it's very, very subtle. Okay, now take my envelope out so that we are ready to move on. Now, the first thing I did is I took a piece that was 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I took one of my circle dies again from my layering circles, and I cut out the center. Then, after I had cut out the center, then I used my embossing folder. This one is, oh, I have it in backwards. Let's fix that. Because I'm sure it was bothering you as much as it was bothering me, right? Okay, so, oh good, I'm glad you guys are liking them so far. This one is the Ornate Floral, and you can see up close it creates these little tiny flowers everywhere. And I want to point out, I mentioned that I had cut out the circle and then did the embossing folder. And the reason for that is because if you do the embossing folder first and then you run it through your embossing machine again to cut the circle out, it flattens out the image that you embossed. And you still can see it, but it's a lot more subtle. And I wanted this to pop out a little bit better. So typically, if you're going to cut a shape out of a piece that you are also going to emboss with an embossing folder, I really recommend cut out the shape first. Okay, now I have, okay, where did it go? Hang on, hold that thought. So this is the piece that I broke apart earlier to show you that it had the piece in the center that pops out. We're going to use this piece and we're going to mount it onto this, which I forgot to cut the center out. So we're going to do a quick embossing, or I'm sorry, cutting to cut the circle out. I think this is the size, I think this is the size I use. So let me grab my little cutter. You know, it seems like there's always something that I've forgotten to cut for you guys. Okay. I'm just putting the circle kind of, can you see that? Yeah, I think you kind of can. I am putting the circle just in the center of the green piece, and that circle is the same size. Is it the same size? Maybe slightly smaller, one size smaller than this circle, but bigger than this circle because I didn't want it to show up through there. Sorry for the wiggling. And then save this because you can use this circle for other things. Okay. So now let's go ahead and mount this onto here like that. And I'm just centering it so we've got a little bit of a margin on each side, and I'm trying to make all the margins even. Then the next thing I'm going to do, wait a minute, I cut my, oh, you know what I did? I cut my, what's it called, the little plastic sheet, window sheet, and then put it away. Hang on. Okay, I always like to take, I have one of my little window sheets here, and I always like to take my sleeve and go over it just to try to get some of the fingerprints off, because they do really pick up fingerprints. Another thing I've heard people say is they use a dryer sheet. That would also work. But I am not wearing a dryer sheet, but I do happen to be wearing a t-shirt, so I'm just going to use the t-shirt. I'm going to put adhesive down here, and I'm just going along all four edges, and I want it to be secured well everywhere, which is why I put so much adhesive there. Now I'm just putting it on this way. It's a little bit crooked, but it doesn't matter, it's not going to show. Okay. Now, the next step is I'm going to take, these are our foam adhesive strips. These are awesome for doing shaker cards because they're so thin. See how they're very thin? That they're very moldable. So when you're doing something like this, where you're going around a circle, you can just bend it as you go. So I'm just going around. I want it to be far enough from the edge that it doesn't show when you're looking at the inside of the circle, but close enough that when your little shaker bits get shaken around, they don't get lost in the outer edges of the card that don't show. Okay, now we'll cut off that excess, which we will use. You want to push that down because you want it to be flat. I just peel this off at this point because it's coming off. It's going to be in the way as I try to do other things. So know that it is sticky when you're trying to work around it. But okay, then I'm going to take, I have some that I cut short just because it's easier. Like for little strips like this, I know I don't need it to bend, so I'll do the little short ones. And I like to use the strips for the outer edge of my shaker piece, like I'm doing now, rather than dimensionals, just because I know it's the exact same thickness as the piece in the middle. Where with the dimensionals, sometimes there's some variation to how thick they are, and I don't want the outside and the inside to not be the same thickness and then have it just kind of lay sort of wonky. And wonky is the technical term there. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel this off, which I suppose I could have waited a minute to do, but we're on a roll now. Okay. Now the best way to do this with our little shaker pieces is to take the card, get the little shaker pieces, open the container right side up for starters. I almost did that backwards. Oh my gosh, earlier today when I was putting this together, I had all my little shaker pieces on this piece, just like I'm doing now, and I sneezed, and they went everywhere. It was awful. Now, one thing you want to do with these, if you are using these particular shaker bits, give me just a second and I'll tell you what they're called. You've got some big ones and you've got some little ones. The little ones will shake up and turn upside down and right side up and over again. But the big ones, they're just a little bit thick and they won't flip over. So you want to make sure before you put the card together, make sure all your big ones are right side up. I took the time to make sure all my little ones were right side up too, and then realized that they flip over anyway inside when you shake the card, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so these are right side up, but I do want to push them all to the center for the moment. I want to make sure all my big ones are flat. Okay, now I'm going to take this piece. Ooh, this piece now has little boogers all over it. Hang on. Trying to figure out if the boogers are on the inside or the outside. What I could do is just clean the inside, and then when we're done, if they're still there, I'll know they were on the outside. And that's easy to clean up. I'm just, again, taking my shirt sleeve because I'm wearing a shirt and not a dryer sheet. I could probably take a little bit of window cleaner too, but I can feel that and it's on the outside. So now I'm going to lay this down. I want to kind of center it. Oops, I have a couple Renegade shaker bits that are trying to get away, and I'm going to show them who's boss. You know that's what I do. And, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to glue this piece on. If I were smart, I would have glued this piece down before I laid those down, just so that I didn't risk getting them everywhere, but it'll be fine. I'm going to use tear and tape on this one. Yeah, I totally get it, Talina. When I open them, I'm like, I know this is gonna happen. I know I'm just gonna open it and they're gonna fly everywhere. I like the little containers that you can get from Stampin storage, but they're a little pricey for me. So I mean, you know, when the container's more expensive than the product itself, you just kind of go, well, maybe I'll just try to be careful with the product and, you know, cross my fingers and say my prayers and hope that God is smiling upon me that day. Okay. Ta-da! Now we're going to lift this off, this release paper. By the way, if you are liking what you are seeing tonight, please like this video or share this video. That's what helps me get my name out there and get more viewership. Both Facebook and especially YouTube, they tend to like to show things in your feed that other people have already liked. It's kind of like you've proven yourself or something. So it does help me when you like the video and share the video. It basically is telling YouTube or Facebook, hey, this is a good video. Other people will want to see it too. So they show it to more people. So if you would do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, so now I still have all my shaker bits in the middle. We survived the crisis there, or we averted the crisis there. Now, we'll lay this piece on, and I'm just laying it over. The other thing about using a dryer sheet rather than your sleeve is it does take some of the static out of the plastic. because I think you may have seen that as soon as I set it down, some of the pieces instantly flew up and stuck to the plastic sheet just because of the static. It'll go away and they'll fall off, but by using a dryer sheet, you get rid of that static. So now see, and one of my big ones, a couple of my big ones are upside down, and they're probably not going to go back, but that's okay. That's okay, I'll survive. Okay, now I have my little eggs, soon to be flowers, my bananas, soon to be leaves, and my little strip that I'm using as for my sentiment. And this strip is just a 1/2 inch wide, and I don't know, it was just a scrap that I had because we're going to trim it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and stamp that message just so that it's done. Let's move this guy out of the way for the moment. And here, even though the colors that we have been a lot of pool party, I used the Coastal Cabana just because it is a little bit darker. And for a sentiment, you typically want a little bit bolder color so that it shows up. So the sentiment that I'm using on this one is Happy Birthday. And I actually pulled that from, oh, here we go, from the Turtle Friends stamp set. So get my little piercing mat out. And I'm kind of stamping this toward the left of the strip. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is take my scissors. I'm going to throw this on the floor. Then I'm going to cut it at a bit of an angle. And then I'm going to leave this edge straight, because when we mount it onto the card, it's going to stay straight as well. You know, I wonder, I don't think I can peel this off. I should have mounted this just a little bit lower. You know what I can, no I can't, because there's going to be a flower there, I think. I'm going to wait to put this on here to see where I want to put it. It'll depend on where my flowers end up being. So first I'm going to take my Flirty Flamingo ink, and I'm going to stamp around the edge of the eggs to make them into flowers. And this stamp does line up a certain way with the cutout pattern, so you want to make sure that you're stamping it in the right direction, or else it'll be all weird. Okay. Okay, so there's that part. While we're stamping, let's go ahead and stamp the bananas. I'm using Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to do the same thing with the bananas. I'm just going to stamp over them to get the outline of the banana, or the leaf as it is in this case. Okay, so now the stamping is done there, except I'm going to want to do one on the inside too. So let's go ahead and, I guess I should have done that while I had the Flirty Flamingo out. So there's the flower. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just inking up the very tip of the banana. And Talina, I know what you're thinking, don't say it. And I'm going to line it up with the outer edge of the flower so it looks like the leaf is coming out from behind the flower. There we go. It looks like some weird space probe or something. suppose it could be a little cartoon COVID. Okay. Now, we're going to color these the same way we did with the blender pen before. So I guess I really didn't want to get the ink pad out. I mean, put the ink pads away. I am going to sit down for this part because I need to be like right in the middle of it. So I got, where did I put my blender pens? Okay, so I do like to scribble a little bit on my scratch paper first just to make sure I've got all the color off of the pen, which I should because I do that after after I use it. I always clean it right away so I don't get ink all over everything else. And I clean the pen right away. But it's just a good idea to check, or you're going to end up accidentally getting ink where you don't want it. Now I'm just going around the edges here, just like I did with the Stampin' blends. I'm doing the outer edge first, and then I fill in the middle. This looks pretty ugly when I first started. It looks a lot better as you go, trust me. Okay. So this part does take a little while just because there's so many of them to color, but I'll try to do it quickly. You can always come back in later and add a little more layering once it's dry, so don't worry about that. And I think I'm probably going to want to with this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will. Now we can go ahead and do our other flowers. Let's just do all of one color at a time. Around the outer edges. You know, that's a great question, Talina. Talina asked if if you should use like a used dryer sheet, if you use the dryer sheet for getting the lint, or not the lint, the static off of the window sheet. I honestly don't know. I don't think it leaves behind any residue if you use a new one, just because it's not like you're pressing that hard. And dryer sheet, I'd try it and see, but I'm inclined to think that you'd be okay using a new one. In fact, I don't know if a used one would get the static out because at that point it's already been run through the dryer and all of that, so I don't know if it would still work because it doesn't have any of the stuff in it still. But that's an excellent question. Has anyone else here tried that and have an opinion on it? Oh, I know what I forgot to do on my last flower. Show you here. Just a moment. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Going back to this one, I wanted to add a little color anyway. to let that soak in before I do the piece that I was actually going back to do. What I'm going to do here, I'll show you what it was, because this one has had a moment to soak in. I'm just putting little tiny V's right here at the bottom of each petal, essentially. It just gives it a little bit of shading there. It looks really weird when I first do it, but it soaks in. See how I've added those little pieces in the center, and they will lighten up a lot as they soak in. So let's get the last flower done. Okay. Robin, I was counting on you to be the one who tried it and would be able to save us with an answer. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe somebody will watch this video later and they will have experience with that, and they'll put it in the comments section and let us know. Okay, I want a little bit more ink around the center. One thing I really like about doing this is knowing that even though it looks a little blotchy as I'm coloring it, when it soaks in, it looks so nice. Like, look at this one. I don't know if you can see it. Make sure I get it under the camera since I'm sitting down. See how it really soaks in well and it doesn't look all blotchy like this one still does, just because this one is still wet. Okay, I'm going to go back and add the little V's, little creases at the bottom of my petals on this one. And I'm not doing anything really precise or exact on this. You know me, and I really prefer to avoid precision and exactness whenever I can because I don't do it well. Okay, so now we're done with all the flower color. Oops, we still got to do the centers, the little V's on this guy. Okay, time to turn off the heater. I'm starting to roast like a pig in July. Aren't they cute, Robin? Well, first of all, I was so proud of myself for being able to see the eggs as flowers instead of eggs. But I just love that they've got kind of a different sort of shape to them. There's no real specific shape, but it's still sort of flower-ish. Okay, let's put away this ink pad. Now while my flowers are drying, clean off this block and we're going to get going on the bananas and the leaves. Hang on, I'm trying to see Robin's comment here. Okay, what she meant by that is exactly what Talina said. You could make 5 cards, for example, but she wants them to be entirely different cards, not like 5 cards with the exact same layout that use different stamps or different colors or DSP or whatever. She wants, every card needs to be completely different. You could use, I mean, you're using the same bundle for all of them, so there is going to be some cohesion between them, but she wants them to be 5 completely different cards. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's do the green now. And again, I'm just going around the edge. Just like so. And then, once this has a chance to soak in a little bit, which the left-hand one kind of has, I want to take just the tip of the pen, go down the side, or go down the center, I mean, and I'm creating that sort of vein in the leaf. Okay, so the one on the inside is now, oh, it's not done because I still have to do the yellow, which we will do last. Now let's cut our bananas. Cut them, color them. We'll cut them in a minute. Okay, dark around the edges. And you really only need to do them about halfway because we're going to cut them. We just really only want the ends of the bananas anyway. So that's probably good. And of course, once that's had a chance to soak in a little bit, we're going to go back in and do that vein down the middle of the leaf. You see what I'm doing? I don't know how far, because I'm sitting down, I don't see on my phone what's showing up, and it shows up on my screen a little bit later than when I'm actually doing it. So I sometimes do stuff off screen and don't even realize that it's off screen until it's too late. Okay, so now let's get a little more green here. And I'm getting the ink on the tip there so that I can do the center. And some of the yellow underneath shows through, and I kind of like that because I think it gives the leaf a little bit more of a natural look. Okay. And last but not least, we're going to color the center of the one flower using our Daffodil Delight. If I can get the ink pad open. Holy cow, we're running late tonight. I'm trying to hurry. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, so now where did, oh, it's the one on the inside of the card. We are almost done. So I want it a little darker around the edge here. now we just need to put things together and we can finish off our card. All the stamping and all the coloring is done. Now you can see I got a little bit of a ink blob on the bottom there. All you need is, if you have a sand eraser, and you can buy these for like $3 on Amazon. If it's just a little bit of ink like that, it's light, like a little smudge, then you just erase it like this, and it does a pretty good job of getting rid of the little ink splotch. If it's really solid or dark, it doesn't work quite so well, but for something like this, it does the job. Okay, close all the ink pads and let's put this puppy together. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the leaves. Just cut the banana in half. And take one of the flowers. And you really don't want to have a whole lot of that sticking up from behind the flower, because it just doesn't, it's not proportional. So I used liquid glue on here so that I could wiggle it around and move it if I needed to. There's one. I kind of feel bad because it wastes the other half of the banana, but you know, what are you going to do with a half-eaten banana, right? Okay, so now I've got my leaves there. So I want to put the one with the leaves at the bottom here. Figure out kind of where I want my leaves. I think I want it there. And then this one doesn't have leaves, quite simply because I did not have enough bananas. Yeah, I think I like that. So let's go ahead and glue those down. Make sure you're not going off the edge of the card that way. Stick that on there. Give it a moment for that glue to set. Now we have our message here. And I think I like it at the bottom. There's just a little bit more room down there. And I wanted it to go all the way to the edge of the card. So, yeah, I want to trim a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue on here. It looks like it needs just a little bit more adhesive. Little further down. And now I want to trim that extra off. There. Whoa, I almost cut off my exclamation point. And you can't have a happy birthday without an exclamation point. Okay, so here we go. Here's our shaker card with our envelope. Let's put away some stuff and we'll look at everything that I've got for you that goes with the kit. So we have this guy. We made this one. And we have the little bunch of bananas. Thanks a bunch. We have this one. It's a little hello with the cherries. And then we also have, where'd they go? The 3 that came with instructions in the kit. You've got the I'm sorry, that's the pits with the little frowny face cherries. You've got the let's grow mold together. I love that. And then you have peel better soon. So So there's a lot you can do with your paper pumpkin kit this month. If you haven't had a chance to play with it yet, I encourage you to just dig into it. I know, like I said, that all the puns and stuff aren't necessarily everybody's sense of humor, and so they're thinking, I just can't really get into this one. But as you can see, there's still a lot you can do without using the puns. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw tonight. And like I said if you did enjoy it, please share it, please like it. Please, invite friends to come watch next time. As you know, once a month I do put out this video with the paper pumpkin kit alternative ideas, but then I also do a live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. With all sorts of different ideas. So hope you enjoyed it tonight. I hope you have a great night, and I hope to see you Wednesday. Good night.